Welcome back to our Tech Trends Update. We're recording this video on April 9th, which is the day that the reciprocal tariffs went into effect at midnight, but were quickly delayed for 90 days during the afternoon, except for China, which was raised to 125%. We continue to get volatility caused by tariff-related news, which has caused a major correction in equity markets, with the technology sector also seeing a big correction. The Trump administration announced sweeping tariffs on April 2nd that were much higher than market expectation. China did retaliate against the US tariffs, which led to further escalation. There were some exemptions for semiconductors in the announced tariffs by the US, but this still didn't prevent the sector from correcting, as many finished goods that come from abroad contain semiconductors that will be subject to tariffs. And the sector tends to be more economically sensitive and would be impacted if the tariff war causes a recession. When the tariffs were announced on April 2nd, we quickly raised cash in the AMS equity and brought it to 17%, which is on the high end of what we've held in the AMS equity. Also, as we discussed last month, we had been reducing Apple shares in the AMS equity due to the delays of some of their AI-related products, and we continued to reduce Apple shares as they are impacted by the tariffs more than others, as their supply chain and revenue exposure to China is higher than other technology companies. Apple is one of the few large technology companies that sells their products directly to Chinese consumers. And even though the company has moved some production out of China and has promised large investments in the US, they still are heavily dependent on China. Since the announcements on April 2nd to the market bottom, the total market capitalization loss of the Magnificent Seven was more than $2 trillion, with Apple and Tesla shares going down more than 20% in that time frame. Tesla shares have also been under pressure as the company has their Shanghai Gigafactory and sells their vehicles in China. Also, the disagreements on policy became public between Elon Musk and Peter Navarro, who is a senior counselor to President Trump on trade, which might have swayed the president to announce a 90-day pause. Shifting from markets to technology announcements, we got this past month from Meta the release of their latest Llama 4 model, and Google released their latest Gemini 2.5 Pro models, and both scored very highly and have complex reasoning capabilities. Lastly, with AI, we continue to get news from Microsoft that they are delaying some of their data center buildouts, with one in Ohio being delayed recently. Lastly, did the dire wolf come back after 10,000 years and become de-extinct? Startup Colossal Biosciences made the announcement, but many scientists are skeptical. Either way, the movie Jurassic Park looks like it could maybe become a reality in the future. Looking ahead, we will get first quarter earnings from the technology sector during the month of April, with Netflix starting on April 17th, with many of the large US technology companies reporting the following weeks. Investors will be keen to understand the impact from tariff volatility and if companies have seen any drop in demand. We are hopeful that we continue to get more clarity regarding tariff negotiations, which will continue to be on investors' minds. Despite raising cash levels right after tariff announcements, we did use some of the cash on April 7th after the 3-day corrections to add to our favorite names, and we brought cash levels to 14%, which is still on the higher end of cash levels that we plan to deploy if the news flow gets better and or valuation levels improve. Not to sound like a broken record, but we still think the sell-off in many technology companies that we like is an opportunity for long-term investors, but there could still be near-term volatility. We have looked at previous large market corrections and studied how markets perform after these types of corrections, and we plan to write about it in the upcoming edition of the Weekly Globe. Feel free to reach out to your banker and/or investor for more details. Once again, thank you for joining us for this month's update.
This discussion is intended for informational purposes only. This is not investment research or investment advice, and no recommendation or financial advice is being given. This discussion does not take into account individual investment objectives, financial condition, or investor needs. The views and opinions expressed in this discussion may differ from the views and opinions of other departments or divisions of Itaú and its affiliates.